this courthouse, the Ballygar Town Centre for Community Endeavours. Tonight we gather to celebrate the launch of Michael Martin's new publication, From Ballinamore to Ballygar Newbridge, a history of the parish of Ballygar Newbridge and Toghergar, 1800 to 1918. Michael is a native of Drynan and now lives in Athenry, so we're very proud to have a local to launch such an excellent event and publication. I would like to welcome Michael himself and his family, his wife Anne, his son Niall, and Niall's wife Lorna, and baby Robin Elizabeth. Also welcome to his daughter Denise, his son Brian and daughter-in-law Carol, and grandchildren Colin and Tara, who live in France, couldn't make it this evening, but I'm sure they're here in spirit and wish Michael all the best. We will hear from Michael later this evening and also tomorrow, when Michael will present a more detailed outline of his book here in the courthouse at 2 p.m. tomorrow. A special welcome to the Committee of Newbridge Church Restoration. We were delighted to work alongside this group in planning and preparing for this launch. All proceeds from the book will be divided between our two groups, for which we are very thankful. I would like to hand you over to Father Louis Lohan from the Committee of Newbridge Church Restoration. Father Louis was a classmate of Michael and will share some insights and reflections on the project.
Good morning, everybody. I'm just checking to see if you're asleep like you are in church. No, I'm kidding. And it's nice to have people up near you. Whatever it is about church, they go as far back as they can go. You have to go kind of like that. It's nice to see everybody. Thinking about this for the last month or so, I have been at many things in my life, many occasions and celebrations of all kinds, but I have never been to the launching of a book anywhere in any country, so I'm delighted to be here to be part of the committees that have pulled this celebration occasion launching together. I was thinking to myself, I'll never be known for any wonderful speeches, for any involvement in political life, or for any massive contribution to the world of agriculture, but I can say that I sat beside such a man for 5 years, way back in Colostemwira, and from 1960 to 1965. Michael Martin and myself were classmates, and Michael Martin was the very good, studious one who did well. There were others of us who struggled to settle down and to read a book at all. But I think that Michael Martin and myself and Kenneth Cummins, John Joe Kelly, people like that, we would say to Shay Cleary, I'm serious Shay, I've said a lot of things about Shay when he wasn't listening, that Shay gave us, I think, a love for languages and a love for English in particular, and he was a great coach to those who wanted to listen and to learn along the way. Michael Martin was the one who got the daily paper every day and went home and read it. He read the local news, whatever, Irish news, national, international, finance, sports, he read it all. And he could retell it again, and just a great student. I want to say thanks to the committee, both the Tidy Towns, which is the work of the Tidy Towns is fabulous, both here and in Newbridge. It is. I have Americans coming and going all through the summer, lots and lots of them, and I am so proud to turn around, drive down to Ballygar and point out all the places along the way and back up into Newbridge again, and the two little towns, the two little villages are so pretty and so nice. It makes you proud to be a local, so thank you very much. Now also the committee from St. Patrick's Church in Newbridge. We are really proud of the way the church has turned out, but we're also very appreciative of the support of the total community. I think there was a time when we saw ourselves as a community here and a community there and a community there. We're one village, and I think we're constantly working towards that. So I just want to say thanks to everybody. I don't want to name any names, but there are individuals of you who have done endless, tireless work, made this happen, made the phone calls and kept at it and at it. I read a book a number of years ago by an NBC, National Broadcasting Company, news reader, the evening news reader, Tom Brokaw. Tom read the evening news at 5:30 every evening, 5 days a week. He wrote a book, The Greatest Generation. and I think it's probably the best book I've ever read. And I'm not a huge big reader by any means. It's about World War II and about the people who went away and the people who stayed at home. And then I saw a book advertised by the same man, Tom Brokaw, A Long Way From Home. And I said, surely this is going to speak to me. So I got the book. It's not the best book I've ever read by any means. But what he does is, he goes back into his youth in North Dakota and then in California. And he gives this, to me anyway, he gave this massive longing to know the streets and the roads that he walked. He was a country kid. And he describes in the book family life in the 50s, 60s. Family life, the work ethic, involved the importance of church in the lives of the people and the lives of his family. And it's a good book from that point of view. I think that Michael Martin has done the very same thing with this new book of his. He has given me, I sat at the table, I get up early in the morning and I love to sit there and read 5 or 10 pages or a chapter, going through it very slowly. And he puts me right back into the 1800s and following. I am bursting to know how the people lived and struggled. It must have been a horrible existence for them, because every single day was painful. They struggled and struggled and struggled. What it does to me is it reminds me that it is so important that we do not take for granted what we have. We are blessed. You hear me say that at church all the time. We're blessed in a million ways. And I think that Mike Martin's book reminds me of that so much. What else did I want to say? I was in Hughes and Ballinamore the other night. Went in to say prayers and hear the people's confession. Hugh Lohan was there, and I think we all know that Hugh has a tremendous love for history, and especially local history. He brought in a letter from a priest about a famine family. And I read it there with a real emotion. Oh, tragic stuff, awful stuff. But what Hugh said and what we all said afterwards, it's almost within living memory. It is so close and so near and only so distant. So that's my contribution to this evening's launch, and I want to say proudly and publicly, Mike Martin, I'm delighted to have sat beside you. We hadn't contacted each other for a while. There was a vacancy in there. I was away, you were away, telling people how to feed pigs, and I was telling people how to go to heaven. Along the way, but we regrouped and regathered, and I am so proud to be part of it all.
As the Lord said when he said about Martha and Mary, but he says, I think we should have took the better part. We shouldn't have took the better part. My contribution wouldn't be that. But anyway, Father Louis and I guess everybody, thanks very, very much for coming. I'm sorry about the fact that we underestimated maybe the attendance, but I hope it's a reflection on the amount of interest that there is in the book. I want to thank Father Louis for launching the book. I thought he was the most obvious one. I decided that when the question arose who might do it and so on, I think the group that I worked with here in Ballygar Newbridge felt that Father Louis was the most appropriate person. I don't think we'll go back over the history of St Mary's College or Clonmara. Bernadette is there and be able to give evidence. Probably other people around as well that so with us. But anyway,
let them not tell everything.
Even afterwards this evening. But I want to thank the Ballygar Tidy Towns Committee and the St Patrick's Church Newbridge Restoration Committee for taking on board the publication of the book. I handed the book over to them, and I was delighted to do that because I felt in my own situation I wasn't going to be able to market it or sell it, whatever. So I was delighted, and I want to thank people who came on board with us to work on that. Nuala McDonough, Delia Harkin, Tomas Heavey and Una McDermott came on board and helped us out. One of the things I want to draw your attention to is the very nice cover, as I think it is, on the book, and that's down to the work of Sheila Flanagan. One of the people we had to depend on to bring it to fruition was somebody who would do the slogging work, and we went for the obvious person, the person that you would regard as the busiest person you could possibly find, get him on board, or her on board, as this case may be. In this case, that was Tomás Kinney. Tomás, I was kind of shocked when I realised that he was also secretary of the Carnival Committee. Anyway, one other aspect of it, and with all due respect to Shay, and we did soldier, and Shay was terrific, back in those days when we were limited resources, very tight situation, but great education in Closhtamura. And Shay taught us English. Now, when I came to write the book, I found out that whatever work he had done in terms of prepositions and syntax and commas and so on had fallen apart, because when the proofreader, anonymous proofreader, went and proofread the book, and what I got back was a bit of a shock. Anyway, what's there is a tribute to the proofreaders. My sister Mary also helped out with that particular job, but I want to say thanks again to that person. The printer was Carmore Printing, and I think Tomás, they were very, very easy to deal with and very, very amenable, and I don't think we encountered any snag or whatever in dealing with them. I want to just point that out, that they were the publishers. One of the reasons that I was able to get involved in a lot of this sort of work through the years was that Jerry Hearn and his wife Helen, and Jerry Burke, who's here, and acting as a daughter, who's putting this on video, which is quite embarrassing for me, but I hate looking back at what mistakes I made, but anyway, we'll see how it goes. But Jerry, unfortunately, is unable to come tonight. He's very disappointed. He was yesterday evening, he was hoping to make it, but he hasn't been able to make it. But Helen has come, and we got involved, I got involved with them in Athenry Parish Heritage, which is a website which has a huge amount of material on the history of Athenry and more recent history of Athenry. Anyone that wants to look it up, just to have a glance at what it looks like, is athenryparishheritage.com. But by being involved with Jerry Burke and other people there, I was able to access a lot more information than I might otherwise have been able to do. And I want to thank them for that. I have, over the years, in the book, I have lifted up information from Paul Connolly, Gerard Hannon and Hugh Lohan, photographs that they had and were distributing around quite freely around, and they're fantastic. When you're looking at photographs going back to 1908, we'd say, with the Lohan photographs and various other ones, and what also at this point pay tribute to Joe Hannon, Gerard's father, who did a lot of work on putting that stuff together. And Joe and myself, and I see Sean as well down there, we soldiered together in Ballygar National School. So the links are very, very strong. My own family have helped out immensely. I mean, Phil and Patrick and Eileen and so on have enabled me to make these contacts and re-establish these contacts with Ballygar, which had maybe fallen away a little bit over the years, into the fact that I was away for not very far away, but I was away from Ballygar for so long. I also want to thank my wife Anne, who would have to put up with a lot of research work and shouts of joy when they discovered items that I didn't believe could ever be found. I just want to go back to tell you where it all began, because my interest in this started off with, and it probably started off when our eldest son came home from school one evening to Anne and asked, could we do up the family tree? I think it was quite embarrassing, because Michael wasn't really clued into the question, because my grandfather, on my father's side, had died in 1927, and my grandfather on my mother's side had died in 1953. So I hadn't really any linkages with them. I can just vaguely remember my grandfather on my mother's side, Michael Kelly from Kilroord, who built and ran the forge at the crossroads. But as a result of that, I had to get serious. I think we went and visited my uncles at that stage in Kilroord, and John Kelly would have been giving me a huge amount of information. The only problem is that I didn't take it all down and record it. But Anne was looking up one day, she recorded what information he had done, and he could do up my family tree on my mother's side and on my father's side absolutely perfectly. So it just points out that the connections are there, people are there. Unfortunately, and I saw it noted on television, and it probably was on last night again, Who Do You Think You Are? Mentioned it again. we don't talk to one another about, the next generation, and all of that stuff is lost, or it's missed out on. But anyway, I went back into that, and I have researched the family history of my families in the area, the Martins in actually Strinan, and Cartron, the Nolans in Cloonline, the Kellys in New Grove, which is my Newbridge connection, and the Colemans in Kilroran, originally from Gortine. And I go back into my great-grandparents, Finnerns in Kilmore, Branleys in Ruan, and Nolans and other Nolan family in Kilroran. So when you count all of that up, the only one of my great-grandparents that didn't come from the parish was Catherine Fallon from Dysart. So I had a very strong connection with the area, with parish and so on. That led, as Louis pointed out there, the link to what sort of circumstances they lived on. What was the circumstances these people lived in? These were my great-grandparents, my grandparents, and so on, even up to my parents. What were the circumstances under which they lived? What were the situations in Ballygar Newbridge parish at that time? And from that I started to branch out from the family history to the local history. One thing I want to attribute to is, and it goes back, many of you may not have seen this, but between 1981 and 1989, the Ballygar Klein Kilroran Historical Society published 4 books on the history of, a lot of material on the history of Ballygar Newbridge area. A lot of these people have passed on, some of them very recently, to the return of reward. But I'm delighted that some of these people are around this evening, like Hugh Lowe and Paddy Commons, and so on, others. I know Tom Kenny was unavailable to be here, but a number of people from that group are still with us. And the work that they did and how much they succeeded in doing in circumstances when you didn't have any internet, you didn't have personal computers, and you'd have old-style printing. What they achieved in that is a credit to them. And I treasure the fact that I have copies of those 4 books, which were a fantastic achievement in themselves. I have also accessed a lot of other information on Ballygar, which now becomes available on the internet. Very, very easy to get to, very easy to access if you know what you're looking for. And that's where I base a lot of my research and so on. I would point out, just if I might digress for a moment, one very interesting one, probably one of the most interesting discoveries I had was when looking up at church records for baptisms, marriages and deaths. Ballygar starts, or the parish, we call it Ballygar for a moment, 1804. But in that, purely by accident I suspect, was scanned in a record of the station masses held in the parish, Ballygar Newbridge, 1805 and 1806. Now they're quite difficult to read, but you can make out, I've made out as best I can, the actual town lands. It also told them how much money they contributed. and I put that in the book.
Envelopes like that.
Now, when I had accumulated quite a lot of information on the history of the parish and so on, the question was, what am I going to do with all this stuff? It was building up in a big file, Word document on the computer. Last November 2017, Anne and myself were hired to go to France and spend some time there awaiting the arrival of our granddaughter Tara. Now Tara, unlike her granddaughter Robin Louise, who came ahead of schedule, I think Tara didn't quite come as quickly, so we were there for quite a few weeks. We were very limited in what we could do. Normally we'd be able to travel around and so on, but now we couldn't. I had my computer and I started to write the first chapter of what became the history of Ballygar Newbridge and Toghergar, and that's where it started. The publishing of it was going to be an issue then when we got to a certain point. So I met up with Father Louis one day in Montbellion for a little lunch or whatever, and we floated the idea to him. I think he saw the merit of it very, very quickly. Phil made contact with Ballygar Tidy Towns and Patrick with Ballygar Tidy Towns. They saw the merit of it as well, and by putting the two teams together, or the two committees together, we were able to get the book through the stage it's at. The parish of Ballygar and Toghergar and Newbridge, or Ballygar Newbridge Toghergar they call it, has a very rich and interesting history. We tend to think of places abroad, we think of other areas and so on. It has a very interesting history, and we need to be proud of that. Well before there were any significant establishments here in Ballygar or in Newbridge, there was Ballinamore, or Ballinamore Bridge as you might call it nowadays. We call it Ballinamore. At that time, Ballinamore was the important place, and so was Mount Talbot. Two very important locations on the rivers. They were the centres. So you talk about 1800. They were early. Right. The parish of Killeen and Kilroran, that are known now as the parish of Ballygar Newbridge and Toghergar, has a rich and interesting history. Well before there was a settlement in Ballygar and Newbridge, Ballinamore was a significant location on the River Shiven, and Mount Talbot was a similar settlement on the River Sug. This book is about the history of Newbridge, how Ballygar and Newbridge developed during the 19th and the early part of the 20th century. This book is a history of the parish, but maybe not the history, as there are likely to be some omissions that maybe should have been included, and more information that may be available. The book covers the period from 1800 to 1918. Prior to 1800, the amount of written information would be somewhat limited, despite the fact that there are comprehensive documents on the Aughrain estate or Castlekelly estate in Galway County Archives, based in Galway. The period ends in 1918 and leads into a book produced by Paul Connolly, which covers the revolutionary years in Ballygar area from the start with the War of Independence. The book covers famines, evictions, scandals, murders, tragedies, natural disasters, religious tensions, population changes, the impact of war, the campaign for tenants' rights, and some sporting activity. Of course, landlords played an important part in the history of the parish. These included the Kellys, the Frenches, the Cheevers, the Davis, and the Netterville Gerards. However, so many other people made significant contributions to the growth and development of the parish in their own way. The contribution of these people from the tenant to those that achieve national and international recognition deserves to be acknowledged. These were our ancestors or contemporaries of our ancestors. Many of these people, indeed some of their descendants, will undoubtedly be interested in the life and times of their ancestors. I hope this book provides enjoyable reading that will increase awareness and provide glimpses into the rich history of the parish. I hope that it is a tribute to the generations that inhabited what was once known as the parish of Killeen and Kilroran, now Ballygar Newbridge and Toghergar. Finally, I hope that the proceeds will benefit financially both the Ballygar Tidy Towns Committee and St Patrick's Church Restoration Fund. I have suggested to the two committees that if by the end of October there are still some unsold books, they might contact a distributor based way up north at the North Pole who would be willing to distribute the books around the world and who would guarantee delivery by the 24th of December next. Thank you very much.